Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm going to be doing something just a little bit different this afternoon, and it's going to be ink. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to do a little bit of free painting with one colour, just a sepia ink, and it's this brand here from Dale Rowney, which is FW. It's an acrylic ink and it comes in a variety of colours. I normally use two different colours. I normally use the sepia and the black mixed together. For some reason I seem to have mislaid my black and also the pot that I've mixed it up in. But this is an acrylic ink, so this comes by way of a little bit of a warning. When you're painting with it, and once it dries, it will dry as a plastic film, so you're not going to be able to lift it up again with another layer and sort of blend it in and muck about. Once it's dry, that's it, it's dry. And the other thing is, don't use your best brushes. In fact, I do believe that is a good brush. I will take that out. So use older brushes, because if you've got your finest watercolor brushes and you're using acrylics and you don't get every bit out, then it will start drying into the root and it will destroy your brush. So with that all said, you can see that I've got some concentrated ink at the top, and I'm watering down in the next pan with just different degrees so that I can really achieve different values. And that's what this is about. It's a monochrome painting. I have got but one pigment or one color to work with, and that really is what this is all about. And I'm pitting my knowledge or my wits to create a workable, or should I say a readable image in one color. Now I'm choosing this seal because it was so much fun to sit and watch, and I'll tell you a little bit about that further on. But initially I'm using a rigger to do the drawing, and I'm just finding my way. But all the time the paint is moving, i.e. when there is enough water on the paper, or the paper is damp enough, it will allow the paint to move around. It's only when the paper dries and the ink itself therefore dries as well, can I not do any more with it. It will become impervious to water, because at the end of the day, acrylic is a plastic film, a plastic paint in a sense, and there is little that one can do once that paint has dried out. So it's the same with acrylic inks. And all I'm doing is feeling my way, establishing the painting as I go, or the drawing as I go. And I'm now using a bigger wash brush, which is it's a squirrel mop. I just forgot myself then. It's a squirrel mop, and it just holds a lot more water, a lot more pigment. But as I said earlier, it's not one of my best, so therefore I am being careful, but I wouldn't use acrylics in my best watercolor brushes. But I'm tapping in little bits of paint here and there, little bits of ink here and there, just allowing it, with the dampness of the water around, to flow and spread and mingle. And I'm adding various layers, and I will dry this painting at different times moving forward so that I can add on. Here I'm just, where that little bit bled a little bit too far, so I wanted to try and get some of that back. I didn't get all of it back, but I got a bit of it back. But I left a vignette around, so what I started to do was lift off a bit of that watercolor all the way back. But then I had dried it now before I moved on to the next part, and that is getting more detail in around the face and the eyes, the muzzle, the nose, and all the shadow areas. I was going to tell you all about what happened on the day. This was a common seal that this day was in Rye, and I had a wonderful time. I took a group of students and I did a plein air workshop this day. It was on a Sunday, and we'd had a great time, and everyone had enjoyed themselves. We'd had a great lunch locally, and we were on, I think, our last painting of the day, and the tide was almost out. Now, we'd watched this fella, I say a fella, it could have been a lady. I have no idea of how to tell the sex of a common seal, but it was bobbing up and down the water. They are so inquisitive, and this one was living up to their reputation. It was watching us as intently as we were watching him. And finally, towards the end, the mud was sort of so far down. There's a lot of distance between us in terms, probably about 30-40 feet apart from where the water was to where we were. And he decided to come out, and we just got a real hoot from that, because it was just fantastic that he felt safe enough to come out in our presence and just lay on the mud, start to clean and scratch himself, and just almost falling asleep at one point. Well, I'm sure he kept one weary eye on where we were, but we were just absolutely over the moon with it. And we took photos and we took a few sketches, and it just made a really great end to the day. Now, why did I do this ink study? I just felt like it, because I've been doing some doodles with you guys recently on YouTube. I used to do a lot of these monochromatic paintings in sepia. I know I said earlier I used to mix two colours together, the black and the sepia, for no other reason than it gave a richer sepia. That was all. But this one was the only bottle I could find at fairly short notice. And I felt that it'd be great fun just to show you how you can express yourself in a small way with one colour. And the cost of doing this is minimal. You know, a couple of brushes, a small water pad, a small watercolour paper pad, as it were, and one bottle of ink, and that's all you need. And you can do so much. You know, if you get 15 sheets of paper and a pad, you can do 15 paintings, and I bet you would not even begin to use any of the ink out of the bottle. And you certainly, if you look after your brushes, they won't worry about the performance of 15 paintings. So you can do so much on such a little budget and express yourself in this form. And the other thing is, it teaches you so much about tone and value, which are in a sense the same things, depending on what side of the pond you're watching this, whether you call how light or how dark a colour is by value, or whether you, if you're in England, you call it by tone. I use both terms because I have experience of painting on both sides of the pond, so I just talk in tone and I talk in value. But it is a fantastic way to learn how just to look at a subject, whatever it is, and decide how much water to put with this ink to determine the tonal value of the colour that you're looking in front of yourself. And the thing is that, you know, with a landscape, we are faced with so many colours in a landscape, and you have to then decide what value they are on in terms of a monochromatic scale, whether it be a grey, well, in a sense a grey scale, just to see what colour or how much water you're going to mix and lay it down on your painting. Now, I've been very careful that I've added layer after layer after layer, and I'm adding layers even now. I'm adding to the picture overall, and I'm putting my darker marks in places where they really need them, just to finish it off. And there's very little white paper left. I've actually done that background water, but now I'm putting in a darker value. It's getting lighter as it comes down to the sill, because I do not want to lessen the contrast between the water behind him and his body. That way it keeps him set out from the water and gives it distance and aerial perspective. And we're really getting into the end of this now. The water and leaving a few of the marks of the former colour behind is all I needed to do. Now I'm just redoing the facial marks and just bringing this to a close. And I've really had a lot of fun doing this, and it's really opened up my eyes again about having another few goes at doing one or two more of these studies in the future and share them with you, because you know, they are something that oh, that was a mistake, I nearly lost that one, but I know I can cover that easily. I've got to put a few whiskers in a moment, so we'll get rid of that little splay of paint. But it just shows, doesn't matter how careful you are, it can happen. So it was a little bit careless, but the paint is now dry, and I'm just going to finish that off by putting in a few whiskers, just gentle ones, which will take out that mistake. And very lucky it happened where it did. But I just love the way that this has just come to life in the last couple of seconds with those whiskers, with the eyes and the marks. And you know, we're done. I'm happy. I think it's all finished. But this was just a small exercise that I wanted to show you very, very quickly if I could. And this is the big reveal. This is a bit I always love. So let's just take this off and show all these beautiful crisp edges. Now, I say this every time, you've got to be careful when you do it, because if you're not, you will tear into the paper and the painting. It really does need to be dry. But because I've just been drying this, I've got away with doing that. And let's just take this last one off. There we are. Alright. Not so bad, not so shabby. Let's just put in a little bit of a signature, a little bit darker than that. Part done. There. Alright, let's just look at that. And yeah. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed doing it. It's been a long time since I've actually settled down doing one of these ink paintings. They're a lot of fun to do. And the materials you need is a block of watercolor paper. And I say a block because it won't crinkle up. You don't need to stretch it. It's gummed down, and when you finish and the painting is dry, you can then take a credit card or a store card and just find the little opening that's always somewhere on those blocks, and you just put it in and just gently take it around, take it off, and it's nice and flat, ready for your next painting. And you must wait for it to dry though before you do that. And it's so simple. And with that, just a few old brushes that you've seen me use, just these ones. In fact, I didn't use this one at all, so you could actually knock that down to a round, a small round, and indeed a rigger. And when you are finished with them, thoroughly rinse them through. Don't be, spend a few minutes just to really rinse out and get that ink well out of the fibers. Even as old brushes, the last thing you want to do is keep replacing them. So make sure they're nice and clean, and they'll set you up and they'll last a long time. And the only other thing I bought, of course, apart from the paper and use a few brushes, is a bottle of this, and this will just do so many paintings. You can see how much is left on here from this, and there's just a few squirts. I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, it's there, and it's a great way of creating paintings, but really it's just having a lot of fun. And you've seen that you can develop something very quickly out of just the one pigment. You don't need an awful lot more. So anyway, enough said about the painting. I've probably sort of missed something out that I was talking about just now. My apologies. I do try and make sure my batteries are all fully charged and all working before I start filming, and sometimes it catches me out, and I suppose it catches me out a little bit more at the moment as I'm learning than it would ordinarily do. So that said, please bear with me. And on that note, if you have enjoyed this little study on the seal, on the common seal from Rye, then click that like button. I'd appreciate it very much if you did. And if you know other people that might be interested in what I'm doing, please share the video to them too, and let others get to see it and enjoy it. And if you're not a subscriber, then please, and I know I keep saying this, but if you're not a subscriber, and if you are somebody who watches my videos quite regularly and enjoy them, then just click on the subscribe button. It doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you. You only have to have a normal YouTube account, which everybody sort of clicks on and signs up for one for nothing, and you can then save videos you enjoy more often, and you can subscribe and like and all these things, so much easier done. And on that score, also, if you do enjoy my work, and you want to support the channel, then nip on over to Patreon. There is always more content there to be had, and for a very, very small cup of coffee a month or something similar, you can become a patron and help me support the channel. It helps me finance to give more time to filming and spending a lot more time filming and editing and creating content for you to enjoy. And many videos are going up there each month, and they're also, most of them are quite exclusive to the Patreon channel. So if you want to see more blow by blow and fully narrated, then click onto that, have a look. If you like it, become a patron. You'll be warmly welcome. And before I put everybody to sleep with will you do this, will you do that, will you do subscribe, I'll catch you all next week. I'll catch you all in the next video. Happy painting. Have a go at this one, and don't forget that the reference will be up on my Patreon page for you to download and use it to learn and teach yourself and help you out, and we'll go from there. So I'll catch you all very, very soon. Happy painting. All the best. Bye bye for now.